Welcome to Survivor Shift, moving from surviving to thriving. I'm Tammy Renee. I'm your host. And Survivor Shift is the point where there's a change in thought processes and behaviors that enable us to move from surviving, just surviving trauma, to thriving in a life that we can enjoy. It's when the light of hope becomes stronger than the anguish of the past. And so that's what we're going to talk about today with my lovely guest, Lindy Kerby. She's a motivational speaker, a singer, and songwriter. And I will put links to her information, but beautiful piano music. Oh my gosh, it's just beautiful. Anyway, she's also a hope specialist, and she's the creator of the Be-Do concept, which helps people navigate the differences in perceptions that happen in relationships. It kind of helps you. It's really a cool thing. You guys got to check it out because it really helps you understand the way other people think, because we all think differently. And it kind of helps bring more compassion into relationships. So I'm excited to hear about your survivor shift, Lindy. So tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks, Tammy. I'm so excited to be here. I am, like she said, a hope specialist, and that always comes from hardship that we learn all of the tools for hope and how to move forward in our life. So I would say, summing up my life, it's been really hard, but that's always for a good purpose, because then we have all these tools to help other people with. So the hard things are hard for a reason to help one other person, then it's all worthwhile.
Oh, I
And
love that. Yes. Beautiful. I call it recycling our garbage, right? We,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's not a very eloquent way of saying it, but I think of that. It's like, garbage is thrown at us all through this life. And if we can recycle it and make it something good out of it, you know,
Yeah, there's
that's
always
good.
something good to learn from the garbage.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, so tell us about, I guess, the things that led up to your survivor shift. Tell us about your story.
Okay, thank you. Well, originally when I got married, I only wanted to have three children, and my husband talked me up to five. And the survivor shift happened just after I'd had my fifth child. And at the time I went in for my ultrasound with my fifth child, my husband felt that there was a boy coming. So I was just praying with all my heart this was going to be the boy that he said was coming. And it was another girl. And I just bawled. I cried because my life up to that point was so hard. My husband had just been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and was suffering from major depression. When I met him, he was very um, active. He was doing lots of things in his schoolwork and in our family. And then it seemed like he finished school, he got done with his busy church callings, and all of a sudden, he didn't have anything left to do. And he just sunk into a depression. And I didn't know anything about mental illness or mental health. And so I was just kind of confused, and I didn't know why he was being the way he was, but it was very frustrating. And so I was trying to get him to do more to help me with the kids, because we had four kids, and then we had five kids, and then it looked like we were going to have six kids. And I was just frustrated all the time that I wasn't getting the support that I needed. I didn't enjoy my marriage because he was choosing to go to video games to cope
Mhm.
with the mental health issues. So he was gaming all the time, and I just felt stuck. I felt lost. I felt like he wasn't helping me. And I didn't know how to get out of it. Five young children, and it was just hard, just so
Uh,
hard.
that would be really difficult to be doing that on your own. I have five children, which is no easy task, but I did have, when you have the support of others, it helps a lot. So it sounds like you had a lot of different things going on.
Yeah, it was very difficult.
Right, right. So where did you find peace.
Had a specific experience that happened that helped to shift me out of that place. Because up until that point, I really felt like it was my husband's job to help me, to support me, to be there for me. And I was very much blaming him, frustrated that he wasn't doing what I felt he needed to do. And there was one day, I had all these kids. I had 5 children and he couldn't help me and I didn't understand why. It didn't seem so hard to do, but he was feeling very frustrated with me because I didn't understand mental illness and that I was expecting him to do all these things when he couldn't. So we were, very clashing and antagonistic towards each other. And I had just gotten back from the grocery store. I took all 5 of my kids to the grocery store. It was just so hard. And it was late at night. So I came back home and it was probably like 8:30 when we got home and my kids were tired. It was past their bedtime. And I tried not to bother my husband too much because he would get frustrated if I talked too much about doing anything to help me. And I went downstairs and I said, honey, I am so tired. I have all these groceries I need to put away. All the kids are tired. Could you come up and help me put the kids to bed? And he said, oh, sure, hun, I'll be up in about 45 minutes and then I can help you. And in that moment, I lost it. I was like, 45 minutes? They're tired now. And I had my kids that were pulling on my legs and just ready. They were so tired. And I got angry and I said, "No, you need to help me right now. This is really important. You need to be the dad, and do these things to help me." And then he got upset with me. So we're having this total marital clash and and I get mad and I'm stomping up the stairs and I'm saying I'm married to Peter Pan because I felt like he just wanted to play. And I came upstairs and my little daughter is pulling at my leg. Mom, can you put me to bed? And I just did not have the energy, the capacity, anything to be able to take care of my kids at that time. And so I yelled at them and I said, I'm so sorry, I just can't do it. And you're gonna have to put yourself to bed. And I was yelling at my husband and basically being like the worst mom, the worst wife. I was just in such a bad place and I just couldn't handle it. So I don't even remember exactly what I did, but I had to go cool off for a minute and I came back, and the kids had put themselves to bed. I felt really bad. I loved the time I tried to spend with them and putting them to bed every night. That was like our special time together. And my son had helped put away the groceries, but I just felt like the biggest failure. I just felt like I'm not doing a good job to be a mom. And I don't want to be this person yelling and frustrated all the time. And I just felt so stuck. Um, and I just felt like nobody knows what I'm going through. Like we go to church and they see the perfect family. We've got 5 beautiful kids and they're all dressed in Sunday best and we look like the perfect family. But if you could open the door and see what's actually happening in my family, I was like, that's not even real. Like they don't
Right.
see what's really happening.
Don't we all do that? That's why we feel so alone in our challenges because we judge other people by that picture perfect that's presented, whether it's at church or on social media or whatever. We judge each other by that. And boy, that creates barriers, when that happens. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what you had to go through. That's really difficult. So what happened after that? How was this a turning
And,
point for
and we
you?
want to be that perfect person. I
Yeah.
think we all have this desire to look and feel like we
Hmm.
are great and being the perfect mom and being the perfect everything. Um,
Right.
yeah, I just had this wanting for someone to understand what my life was really like. And I had this little prompting that Heavenly Father knew and that I could pray. And I quickly pushed that away because I was like, no way. I do not want to pray right now because I'm being this terrible person. I would get chastised. I know I'm not doing everything I'm supposed to be doing as a mom, and I'm not being this great person. I'm just messing up. And so I pushed it away. And I'm trying to go through the motions of, um, cleaning up the house or whatever it was that night. And again, I just wish I had someone who understood me, that I could talk to, that really knew me and everything, that could understand what I was going through. And again, that little thought came back. It's like Heavenly Father knows everything that you're going through right now. He understands you perfectly. And it kind of hit me. It was like, you know what? That would be so nice to be able to talk to someone who really gets me, who really knows the truth. And he would, he sees us, and it's not like we can hide from him what we're
Right.
going through. And so I just started thinking, if I could get through the chastisement, because I knew he would, because I was doing so many things wrong. If I could just get through that, then maybe I would be okay, because then I'd have that person to talk to and that I could know he got me. And so I went upstairs to my room and I locked the door behind me and I got down on my knees. I was so tired still and just so exhausted from that day that I kind of just like knelt down with my head on the floor, just totally overwhelmed. But I was kind of like ready for the chastisement, waiting for it to come. And all I said was, "Dear Heavenly Father." And I felt this amazing, warm blanket of love just completely enfold me. It was the best feeling I've ever felt, still to this day, of just complete love, just wrapped in his arms. And I just cried. And I
Oh,
just,
that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Why do we do that to ourselves? We're so sure, we're
it's
so
not
hard on ourselves,
like he's
and
gonna
we're
hurt.
so sure, oh my gosh, if God sees everything, then oh no, I don't want him to see me, when really the first message he always has is how much he loves us. I love that. That's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
he's not gonna attack us when we're already down. I mean, that would not be
No,
a loving
no,
father for
no.
sure.
And he is a loving Heavenly Father for sure. So then what happened after that?
Um, I, it was empowering. It was this thought of, I'm not alone. I do have somebody on my side. And I went downstairs and it was kind of like this huge aha moment for me that I don't have to be dependent on my husband for the support that I need. It was like this, oh, like I could get babysitters when I need help, or I could go ask someone to watch the kids for me when I need a break. Or it was like all these other ideas started to come that I'd never thought of before. I mean, they'd kind of come in, but I'm like, well, that would just be weird. My husband's here, but I'm gonna ask a babysitter to come in at this. Like some of these things that just didn't even sound like real solutions, but it really was, it for whatever reason he couldn't do for me, and because that was the reality of the situation, I needed to accept that and accept him, that he couldn't help me in the ways that I needed the help. And I was surprised to find out how much God can do to just empower ourselves to be able to reach out for the help or to find other solutions that are not dependent on a person. We can depend on him. And that's when I started to turn more to music. That's when I realized, oh, when I play music for a little bit, it gives me energy, and so sometimes I had to let the kids just be crazy for a little bit while I would play the piano for a little bit or write a song, and then I could be a better mom. Not that I was not watching them, but it was just I could be a better balance for my kids
Right.
and for my husband when I was taking care of me.
Right. I love that the just taking time. I mean, it's a hard balance, right? Especially as a mom, I feel like we feel an extra special,
I don't know
um
why.
yeah, energy to, oh no, we gotta make it all perfect. But that's beautiful using and honestly, I can tell by the way you do your music, your writing and you're playing the piano, that it is a gift from God. And so if we tap into those gifts that He's given us to help us through this life, that's beautiful. I love that you found that. So do you feel like your survivorship came a bit in the rediscovering music and kind of allowing yourself to express, I guess, that gift that you have?
I don't think I could have gotten through the rest of my marriage without music. Yeah, it was the biggest blessing. It was hard at the beginning. I couldn't write music. It was so hard. Um, but I thought the music was for other people so I could share it with other people, and I didn't. And while it is, I didn't know that it was meant to first bless me, and that has been the biggest gift. Yeah.
What a beautiful reminder that it's never one-sided. When we're doing something that we need to do for our well-being, if it's truly something that is for our well-being, it's going to bless others and vice versa. If we think we're doing something to bless somebody else and just giving of ourselves, right? I mean, I love that what you tapped into with your music, like I said, is a God-given gift. And when we tap into those and share them, what a beautiful reminder. Thank you, Lindy. That's a beautiful reminder about how it goes both ways. It not only blesses others, but it blesses us as well. Thank you. So what happened from there then? How did it go from there? Did everything change and all of a sudden become perfect?
Oh no. Of course not. No, but it was the beginning of what you call that shift where I stopped blaming. I started to rely on God. And when I was having a bad day, it was like I would pray. It was like, Heavenly Father, help me. What do I need to do? How can I get through this? Help me get through this. And little inspired ideas would come or things that I could do different. I was inspired to start a gratitude journal, which was life changing as
Yep,
I
yep.
focus on the good things about my husband and not all the bad things that I didn't like so much. I realized how negative focused I was. So I was very negative focused before and just realized how much our own mindset matters in how we see other people in the world. So just really focusing on being a more kind person was actually really helpful to not
Right.
be frustrated and to be able to just accept him the way he was and not be so affected by things he couldn't do.
Right. Kind of developing more compassion for him, it sounds like. And in the process, kind of developing more compassion for yourself, right?
Yeah, I learned to set some boundaries for what I could and couldn't do and what was best for me in the situation sometimes because I'm always so doing focused. I'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, I
Yes.
was always trying to do for others and do for my children, do for my husband and sometimes it's okay to just not do. Just focus on yourself for a minute. And sometimes in the doing for yourself, you're actually helping your family and for others. So you can be happy and to be a better person for them.
Right, right. Gosh, beautiful, beautiful messages. I don't know. I needed to hear these today and be reminded. And, like you said in your latest post that I read, it doesn't sound like earth-shattering stuff, but it's all good things that we need to be reminded of. And I love that you talk about how you tend to be more of a doing person, right? And you have this whole is it do be or be do concept? Be do concept, right? And when we talked about it before, I mean, just some really cool ideas to help engender understanding in our relationships. So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? I
Yeah,
mean, is
I'll
that
just
kind of the next part of your survivorship? Because I do need to say this, we often don't have one survivorship. It's not like just one point in time. Sometimes it's a very significant one if we have been in such a dark pit of despair, and we're looking for reasons to go on and to continue to live. And there can be a big survivor shift, but it's always followed by a series of more things. So tell us more about that.
Well, thank you for that opportunity because it's been life-changing this second shift that I had because as I began to feel more confident in myself and in my faith with God, we're actually a pretty good team. I can do anything, and I felt so close to Him. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to fix my marriage now because if I can just help him to feel loved, then maybe everything will get better and we can have a better relationship. So my goal was to help him feel loved because, we got married at the beginning. You must have loved me at that point. So what was it that made him feel close to me then? If I can do the same things, then maybe he'll feel close to me now. And so it was with this doing mentality that I could do something that would help him to feel closer to me. Um, that I learned I had another amazing shift. I was praying for charity, praying that I could love him more because I didn't always feel super close to him.
Right.
Um, but I had this experience where I was reading this book. It's called The Love Dare. It's an amazing book for marriages if you're looking for a good marriage help book. But it had these dares. It was 40 dares to help you and your husband or your spouse to grow closer together. So I was doing these dares, and the dare of the day was to show love for your spouse in their primary love language and don't expect anything in return. And so I was really frustrated that it was always me doing all the work to fix our marriage. But I was doing that and I was showing love. My husband, one of his love languages is words of affirmation. So I was trying to say something nice to him every day. And one of the days, or on this particular day, we were having another conflict, another argument, and I didn't want to end it that way. He was going on a business trip, and I thought, let me just say something that will help him to know I care about him, know I love him. And so I said, we're really going to miss you. And he got upset and he said, you won't miss me. You'll just miss what I do. And of course that pricked me because here I am trying to show love and he's getting frustrated and he's angry, but it hit me in a weird way as I realized he's getting frustrated for a legit reason. Actually, I realized, yeah, I kind of only do love what he does, not necessarily him. And that started a shift for me. As I talked to one of my best friends, we used to talk every single week on the phone. And and I was telling her about my crazy husband who doesn't love in a doing way. He doesn't have to do anything for your spouse. And and I'd realized that he showed love in some kind of being way. Like you just had to be there. And I didn't get that. And so I was like, this is so crazy. My husband just has this weird being way. And she said, well, Lindy, I think I love in that same being way as your spouse, as your husband. And I was like, oh no, you don't think anything like him. Like you do things for me all the time. And she said, no, Lindy, I'm not trying to do things for you. I'm just trying to be a good friend for you. And I realized as we were talking and as I have gotten to know this concept actually over the last 10, 15 years now, studying that everybody has choices. We have four choices. We can choose how we're going to be or not be, and we get to choose what we're going to do or not do in any situation. Those are the only four choices we have. But some people are more being or not being focused, and other people, like me at the time, are more doing or not doing focused. And so, like in my marriage, I was only focused on doing and all the things I was trying to do for other people and what my husband wasn't doing. And it was all very doing focused. But as I've come to understand my husband better, he was more being focused. And he was trying to just love me how I was and not judge me, not try to tell me all the things I was doing wrong, but just trying to be there. And he couldn't understand why I was just being so mean and antagonistic. And here he's feeling depressed and dealing with all these, mental health issues. And I'm criticizing him. I'm telling everything he's not doing. Um, which for a bee thinker is just, pretty mean, pretty unkind. And so it's been this huge learning shift for me, even to the extent where I'm in this relationship right now, and I'm more of the be thinker, and he's more of the do thinker. And I'm like, okay, I am seeing things in a whole new way because, man, I just want to be, and you're trying to get me to do, which, I think everything is heavenly orchestrated. So just, just
Yep.
amazing. But yeah, that helps me to just see that when people are upset or frustrated or we're having a lot of contention, a lot of times it comes from just wanting to be loved like God did for me.
Yeah.
He didn't criticize me. He didn't tell me all the things I was doing wrong. He just was there, just loving me wholly and completely. And that's just as beautiful a love as it is to do good things for other people.
Right. I just love there's so many things that I love about your story. And one is here you were in a very difficult situation. And I know from our conversations before that that marriage didn't end how you would have wanted it to end. But I love that you did what you could and you have taken those opportunities to grow and to learn and improve every other relationship, taking charge of what you can do and letting go of what you can't. You can't you can't fix other people, you can't make their choices for them. But I just really love that. And I love how you present it helps, at least it helps me, instead of thinking that, well, we all need to be beers or we all need to be doers, right? That there's beauty in both ways of existing, I guess, and both ways of thinking. There's beautiful things. And after our first discussion, when you first shared that with me, of course, I'm analyzing my own marriage. I'm like, oh my gosh, my husband is a doer and I am a be person. And, in the best relationship, like in where both people, can learn and grow. Then you kind of learn how to balance that. But boy, it's a butting heads thing at first because it's like, hello, how come you can't, he's providing well and he's taking care of building a fence or painting a house or whatever. And which I appreciated, but obviously not enough because I'm like, well, how come you're not doing this or doing that and whatever. But anyway, I love how you present it and I'm excited. I think you said you're working on a book about it, aren't you? Or
Yeah.
working on a whole thing about it, but I'm excited to see how that all comes together because I think, boy, the world is in so much need of understanding each other instead of trying to change each other, right? Just like you said, God just loved you how you are, right? And then he'll teach us and he wants us to improve and kind of be our best selves. But he loves us as we are. And if we can have an understanding, I guess, about the different ways people's brains work, then that'll help us to do that so much better. So what's your path look like now?
Well, right now I'm, like you said, working on this book. It's been a over a 10-year process. I've been single almost 10 years now, but it is the book, first of all, I again, just like my music, I thought the book was to help my husband see a different perspective because he couldn't see mine. And over these last 10 years, I realized it was to help me see a different perspective as I have learned more of that be thinking love. And again, like you said, it's neither one is better than the other. It's understanding both because God has both. He is the perfect being. He just loves us no matter what we do, but everything he does is for our benefit, for our learning, for our growth. And yes, there's always something to learn from every situation. So I think God just continues to say, "Okay, you're not quite ready yet. You got to learn, you got to grow." And so this last bit of my life has been learning experiences that have been helping me so that I can write that book in a way where I could see my husband's perspective in a way that I couldn't before. So the idea is to write it so they're both balanced and neither one looks worse or better than the other. And so people can relate to both sides and they're gonna see it. So I love opportunities to speak about it, to share at workshops and coaching, whatever I can. I just to be able to help anybody who's having that same experience that it makes it all worthwhile, you know.
Right. I love your forward focus. When you said that God says, well, you're not right, quite ready for that. You got some more growing to do and all that. And I've often thought about that when looking back, the beauty of being as old as I am, which I guess I don't need to announce how old I am, but I'm pretty old. Anyway, I'm on Medicare. I don't know. Anyway, but the beauty of being this age is you can look back and all those prayers you didn't think were being answered were being answered. But so many times for the Lord to be able to answer our prayers, he has to build the path in front of us, so we have to be patient because we're not ready. We can't jump over that cliff that's right there. He's got to build a bridge for us first to get to where we are prepared and ready for the answer to that prayer that we've been asking for. So I love that. And I love the forward focus. And it's interesting. It's hard for me to believe that you were ever a negative focused person. I mean, you have overcome that. That's beautiful because you just seem so positive and so willing to look at what you can do with what you're given, and what good that you can do. And you're open to, your own personal progress as well as being able to help others. I love that. I love that very much. So before I ask you the last question, maybe you can tell us how how has your life been blessed by these shifts that you were willing to experience and work through?
Okay, that one will make me get emotional because um it's interesting that before I made the shift to realizing what a negative person I was, I thought I was positive. Um, Before I learned about the differences in being and do loving, I thought I was a very loving person. There's a lot that we just think we are already. We think we're loving, we think we're kind, we think we're very forgiving. And then God gives us an experience or a learning experience that that challenges us and we get to use everything that we've learned up to this point and we get to try it out, make sure we've learned everything we've learned from before. And so I think that being able to get through the hard things now because of the tools that I've learned. So when I got divorced, I I knew that I was showing love to my husband, that I was trying to do everything I could. And it really is a choice to continue in a relationship or not. And so I couldn't take away that choice from him. That was his choice to make, but I didn't ever stop loving, which gave me that peace. And even as a single person, I still have music. I still have positivity. I've learned both be thinking and do thinking, which help you in different ways. Do thinking is a very forward, what can I do to get the goals I want and to be the person I want? It takes the doing to get there. But I also have the being mindset too, so that when I am just doing all the time and I don't feel like I'm making any progress, I can switch into be thinking and be like, okay, let me stop thinking about doing for a minute and how do I just want to be? And sometimes being is way faster movement than do thinking is. I've been surprised when I think about, well, I do want to write this book, but even more, I want to be an influence. I want to be an influence for good that makes a difference. And then all of a sudden, I feel like, yeah, I can write this book. Yeah, I can start sharing what I know and kind of overcome some of those fears that I've had in the past. And so it's all been a blessing. It's just been so helpful. I'm just so grateful for what I've had to learn through the hard.
Yeah, you know what? I think part of all of our survivorships is being willing to learn and being willing to grow and not be so afraid of it. Because sometimes it's scary to move forward. Moving forward can be very, very scary, right?
Sure.
And learning and changing. So, Lindy, thank you so much. This has been beautiful, but I do want to give you opportunity. If you had one message of hope for our viewers or our listeners, what would that be?
You know, it's that life is hard and it's I think it's designed to be hard, but God is there. He knows who you are. He understands everything about you. And as you shift to letting Him be your support person instead of blaming other people for why we can't be or why we can't do, and just love other people in both the ways that we know how, but also in the ways that will help them to feel loved, your life and relationships will improve. There isn't any way they won't when you're loving yourself and other people in both being and doing ways. So I'd
I
encourage
love
you to
that.
try. There is hope.
I love that. And being willing to make the shift. That's true. Our survivor shift, it doesn't fall into our lap. We gotta grab onto the opportunities, where we find them and figure out. And I love that shift to God. I know in my healing journey, every time I remember, I don't have to have confidence in me. I just have to have confidence in my Savior. I don't need to focus on anything but Him as I'm trying to do good things and, and using the gifts and talents that we've been given to make connections. We're not supposed to, any of us do this alone. It's not all just about us or them or whatever. It's about everybody together and making those connections. Thank you so much for your beautiful messages. I'm excited for your book. You'll have to let us know when it comes out. And I'm excited to visit with you again and talk more about music and building on the light. Thank you so much for sharing your light, Lindy.
Thanks, Tammy. It's been so fun.
Thank you for listening. And I look forward to seeing you on our next episode of Survivor Shift, moving from surviving to thriving.